Welcome to my solution for task 5.1, where we were asked to prototype our own backend service. So I have chosen three bounded contexts, which is um, user, artist, and artifacts. What I've done is I've created a minimal API project with .NET Core. I've used the locally SQL Server database, so I've created my tables, my stored procedures. There's even the one function here. All was created here in Visual Studio. For object mapping, I have used Dapper. Um, I've also created a document that will be attached to the project with step by step all the features and what I've done. There's also like an entity diagram here. So I've also so each of the contexts, each of the tables have primary keys, which is the ID, and then some of them are referenced with the foreign key. The one thing I couldn't figure out how to do is actually to pass those values. So if I call a user that is also an artist, so they have one-to-one relationship. A user can be a user only or a user and an artist. And the same with an artist. An artist can be only an artist or an artist and a user at the same time. So also an artist would have a here number of art pieces, but it's actually the name is wrong. I just didn't change it, forgot. But basically what it is, it would be like a list or a collection of all the artifacts an artist would have and will be referenced by the artist ID. I didn't know how to implement that, but I have a few cool features. I've also allowed XML comments, so the document here. So it looks something like this. I have implemented the authentication layer using JWT token. So when we log in, if the details are correct, we're gonna get a token. We're gonna pass it on to the authentication, like a button on Swagger. We'll see in a second. And I've implemented a testing framework. Sorry. But I only have one test which passed, but the way I've implemented my database connection with the generics and stuff, I couldn't find too many resources online. Wait, how exactly to implement the other one? I think for like creating a user, updating user, we would have like a mock database here and just pass those values and check for the outcome if so basically the test checks like in here when I tested the get all users endpoint. So if all goes well, the response should be 200 okay. So let's see. Okay, so to test it and to show that it's working and it passed, okay, so I'm gonna go back to my testing unit. Let's wait a second. The rebuilds. So it's still thinking. You're running the project. Running the project. Yeah, it's loading. So basically, like the idea, I do understand the idea of testing. Like here, I found a very simple. Can't really put it simpler. example of what it does. So I have a passing test and a failing test, as you can see here, like it failed. But I want to see that particular endpoint. So what I'm going to do is we're going to run a test, and we're going to see in the here. Let's see output here. I'm gonna clear from all the previous tests I've done. So it's okay, so it's running the test now, and as you can see, it's testing the get all users, and we are using the XUnit framework, and we can see in here that it passed the test. It did pass the test. So if I were to, like for example, run this one that fails, then obviously it fails because 3 plus 2 is not 4. And it's actually gonna show I have to close it. You see, like I am not really proficient with that, but okay, so here. So we have the test and it said it failed. And in here we have a little information that was expected for, like in here, but because we changed the add values. So it shows very clearly here what's wrong. So we can see like the tests are working. I do get the idea. Would I implement for every endpoint? Probably not. Like I haven't found a good resource to that could be helpful. But again, I did my project all by myself, so I think I do have a few features that are pretty OP. So let's see, I'm gonna run the project and let's see quickly what we get. So I have an admin user, and then by default all the others are regular users. So there's gonna be some endpoints that we can only access with the admin. So upon logging in, also the password is hashed. And also I've implemented, I think it's called Fluent Validation to impose some rules. So for example, when we update or create an instance, then we will get like a little message. And it's pretty handy because it very clearly states like what is wrong and what we are doing wrong. So those endpoints are only for the admin. We're not logged in yet, so let's go ahead and log in as an admin. I'm expecting to get a token. Sorry, there's gonna be a token back. We're gonna feed it here, and then we're gonna create a user. And also, like when we create a user, that's the only moment that we can assign a role. And then when we update, because I think it's also like who can do what. So like when the user updates its own record, can't set itself as an admin. It can only be like an admin when you create an instance to be set to an admin. So I would like create separate models for updates, for maybe retrieving data so that we don't retrieve all the data. So control what can be manipulated. So, okay. So I have, actually, because some of them are by default, the created date is daytime now. Some of them can be nullable, so I'm just gonna focus on the ones that are required. So let's create maybe Kevin. And also, okay, so I wanted to show that feature, the Fluent Validator. So I've set some requirements like first name has to be between 2 and 50. I also have a email validation with like regex, wherever you. So that's not my code, it's going to be referenced. It's a pretty standard Swift way to check email, if it's in email, if it's not. So let's do both of them actually. It's gonna be a user, not an admin. Also, like I implemented a way to, like in my other project, to ignore white space and lower uppercase. So as long as, for example, admin or user or whoever we check against, when we do authorization, it's only focusing on the word, so it doesn't really matter. So in here, we're gonna get a message that first name must be between 2 and 50 characters, and that is exactly what I had. Not user model. So between 2 and 50 characters here. So it shows all the messages adequately, and whatever we are, for example, now it's going to be email. Email address is not valid. This checking for the like standard, like for ads and for dots and for other. Okay, so let's create a not admin user Kevin. Okay, let's keep the same. Oh, do you know what? No, it has to be different. Okay, so it's gonna be Kevin because 8 characters is minimum here. So let's create that instance. So it's created. The password is hashed with like a simple hashing algorithm that I found. It's nothing exciting really. It's a simple like algorithmic function here. But still what I wanted to do is update that user. So first I need to check what ID was assigned. Maybe 11. Okay, 11 Kevin. So I want to update Kevin because I want to update 11 because I want to show that the passwords are going to be matched. Sorry, are going to be hashed again. So how should we do that? Okay, so we can only get the change. Could actually influence to provide the old password and then the new password. That's one improvement that I would do. Okay, so let's update. The length must be okay. So here we go. The length of the user. Email address not valid. Obviously, it's not valid. Okay, so at least we know it's still working. Okay, success. So let's refresh the users. And this was the old hashing And let's see if it's different. 9685. Okay, so it is working. All good here. Um, okay, Kevin. So what I want to do now is let's log in as Kevin. Let me just have a look here. Let's log in as Kevin and see that we don't have that we're not authorized to use the other endpoints. I think it was that password. Okay, so as Kevin, we would, for example, not be able to delete. Yeah, we will not be able to delete the instances. The last thing I want to show, without making this video too long, was the function that I referenced before here in the stored procedures. I only done one because, as I said previously, I've only done this project by myself, so it'll be so much work. But just to show that it can be done this way and it's working, so we can retrieve some data using functions, and then there are like more and more complex ways to go about manipulate data in SQL. But this is a very simple example where I provide a letter and then I filter the users table to get me all the instances of users whose last name starts with that letter that passed. Plus, this means like whatever comes next. So we are only interested in the first letter. So let's see how it works. So I know there's some J. There's one person J. I think there are more instances of B. Okay. Sorry. So there are more instances of B. So the last thing, the feature that I found complicated to implement was how to like synchronize the foreign key and primary key. So if we have a look, very quick look on my entity diagram, okay, if we just have like a very quick look. So when I pull an artist or get all artists or by ID, I should be able to see, it's in my code, so number of art pieces, it's actually either a list or BI collection of all the artifacts that this artist would have, because they are, so artist ID is referenced here as foreign key. So I wanted like the moment I retrieve an artist, I want to see like a list of all the artifacts, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. So if I pull all the artists, it's gonna show me an empty bracket. So it's empty. But I actually found one implementation for MVC, but not for minimal API. So if I had more time or I worked in a group, I think the last thing I would more importantly implement was the front end. I would probably go with React or Vue. React to me would be a little bit simpler because I'm actually working on a project for another subject. So yes, as I said, I would be putting this project on GitHub and sending an invite to Mr. Slavenko's Deacon email and attaching this document as well. So everything is quite clearly, all the points and requirements for these tasks are commented, what I've done, what worked. Thank you so much for your attention. And I would like to thank Mr. Slavnenkos for all the work on this subject and all the best.